This video is sponsored by our friends at Kamikoto. Kamikoto taps into more than 800 years of traditional techniques from Japan to craft incredibly sharp, single bevel knives. These beautiful knives are made from the finest Japanese steel, and they've elevated my cooking game significantly. Each knife comes in a beautiful, heavy-duty ashwood box. They also make for an incredible gift. Each Kamikoto knife goes through a rigorous 19-step process that takes several years from start to finish to complete. Each knife is individually inspected, and Kamikoto is so confident about their knives that each one comes with a lifetime guarantee. These knives are incredible, and you don't have to take my word for it. They have been used by Michelin star chefs all over the world, and if you don't love them, you will get a full refund. Right now, Kamikoto is having their biggest sale of the year. Go to kamikoto.com/Chael. That's going to save $50 off your entire purchase price, or just click the link below. Use the promo code Chael and you will save $50 today. Jon Jones, Curtis Blade, the line has come out. Now, it's a make-believe line, but it's got Jon as the favorite. What do you guys think of that? It's not just who do you think will win the fight, right? Like that gets very complicated when somebody's been gone. We know you don't get better at doing something by not doing it. We also know that all of the rules that you could apply to life, to yourselves and other people, don't apply to Jon Jones. Like, he's been doing things that no other man can do. That's what being the youngest world champion ever represents. He can do things that nobody else can do, but at some point you got to factor that in. At some point there's a tipping point. No matter what a great athlete you are, is 35 the number? 35 is no spring chicken, right? Jon Jones goes from the youngest UFC champion ever to the oldest current number one contender. So it's time. But is 35 his number? There's no way to know. There's no way to know in advance. Is 37 his number? Is 38? Look, in fighting, we always favor the youth. Always. We'll say youth advantage. And that goes to Curtis Blades. And then you've got something known as momentum, right? For the guy that's out there and he's staying busy versus the guy that's sitting on the sidelines. It always favors the guy that's staying busy. But the lines come out and it's favoring Jon Jones. There's a real question here that we may not know. Jon may not know it himself. Jon did not step away from this sport because of the money, just so you understand. Now, he say, Chael, you're wrong. Say, Chael, that's exactly what it was about. They would have come to my number, I would have done it. That's what it would appear, and it would even appear that to Jon. But it's a different way of saying it. I'm not being paid enough, which are the words. It's a very different thing. That's very different than if you pay me more, I will do it. I'm not being paid enough versus if you pay me more, I will do it, right? If you don't want to do something, but there is a number. Whatever that is. You're a little kid and your dad wants you to clean out the garage. He's going to give you $5. You're not cleaning the garage. Well, he comes up to $8. All of a sudden you're having a different conversation. He finally rounds it off to 12, 15, and you're out there with a broom in your hand. It's a real thing. Does a guy want to be in there? And I have seen Jon in competitions, and so have you, where he has had to dig deep. He's had to dig really deep because he really wanted it and he had that grit. It's fair to ask yourself, does he still? If he does, what happened when he left? Because he didn't leave. He wasn't paid the right amount. He didn't want to do it anymore. Now there was a number. I'll change my mind. I'll get out there. But those are real questions. When a guy's sitting out, those are real questions. Darren Till just came out. Here, I'll give you a perfect example, guys. Darren Till just came out. Now, I shared this with you guys many months ago about Darren Till. I said, Till is going to do better as soon as he gets out of the main event. The main event and the atmosphere of the main event, and only knowing that life, only knowing the training required for a 25-minute atmosphere, only going out last, only having the media, only having the marquee, all the things that come with it, it's a lot. You can only do it so many times. That's all that Jon Jones does. He is always in the last fight of the night. And Darren Till spoke on this, right? I brought this to you guys 4 months ago about Darren, but Darren brought it up this week. He said, man, I told the UFC, no more main events. I'll fight anybody. I don't care about that. I'll do any date. I'm good with it all. Don't put me in the main event. I appreciate it. It's very open. It's very candid. Now, when you're working your way through this sport, as a business, you've got to get to the main event. You got to do whatever you can to work up the card. Guys always think it's about ranking. Your ranking is nowhere near, not even in the realm of importance as your placement on the card. If you got a guy that's in a co-main event with no ranking, you guys are in the same weight class, and you're ranked number 2 in the world, but you're on the prelims. Okay, this guy with no rank, it's the placement on the card. You want to make any money, you want any attention, you want to make a splash. You've got to focus on where you go on the card. And Darren is openly saying, don't put me in the main event. Those are tough things. These are things that you're going to have to overcome. I'm just sharing with you that Darren was generous enough to be candid with the public. He was generous enough to do that. And there's a real side of it. I can remember when Gustafsson wanted to leave the sport completely. I don't want to do the sport anymore. It's like, no, Gus, hold on. You're doing the sport, and your experience is not what the sport is. It's very unique. You're only a main eventer. You're only in there fighting for titles or fighting guys that used to have titles. Like, there's another way. There's a normal way. There's what everybody else except you does, which is a 3-round situation, which is just different. It'll invigorate you. It will change you. I mean, I would submit for you if there was a way to do that with Jon 3 years ago. We never lost him. He never gave the belt back. He never walked away. He never goes up to heavyweight. I submit for you, if you want him to go to heavyweight, you don't have to sit him for 3 years and get him to 240 pounds. You don't have to do any of those things. Put him in a heavyweight fight that isn't a main event. I think you would have had him then. I think you would have had him 2 weeks later, not 3 years later. I also don't think that Jon's going to come out and agree with me. I'm right. But unlike Darren Till, Jon might not know that. He might not know that there's a different approach, there's a different way. A worst case scenario is a lot less worse if you're in 3 rounds. If you have less exertion, if you have less exposure, if you have less time in there. And when Jon decided to walk away, when Jon said, hey, there's a number, there's a number where even though I don't want to do this, I will do this. A lot of it that's what he's talking about. A lot of it. It's a very unique spot. It's very hard to guess what you would do in the situation of Jon Jones. It's very, very hard because he has so much success. There's not a whole lot of people you can turn to. There's not 10 people walking the planet with the level of success in their sport as him. We'd all love to be a world champion, right? We'd all sacrifice. We'd work really hard with the hope of becoming a world champion. He won so many he gave it back. I couldn't even imagine. I really couldn't. I'd hold on to that thing so damn tight. I'd have squeezed it. He won so many. He gave it back. So just sharing with you, it's a really hard mindset. And you got to dig into that. He wouldn't be able to agree with anything that I just said. He might even disagree with it. I'm just sharing with you, and I'm bringing Darren Till in as an example. I'll go back to Gus, just as examples that it's real. How bad do you want to be out there? No matter how powerful your weapon is, a 22 versus a 44, they both got a clip. They both will fire their last shot. No matter how great your 44 is and the other guy's got a 22, if he's got a couple of rounds left and you're empty, you got a problem. You got a big problem. One way to solve that problem is to take a break. It's a great way. You always hear about rest, how important rest is. Don't just grind your body down. Make sure you get some rest. Whether that's sleep in the night or that's taking a few days off or that's taking a couple of weeks off, whatever that could be to you, but to repair your body. You always hear about that. You got to rest your mind. You have to. How long does that take? Does that take 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, or in Jon's case, 3 years? Either way, whatever it took, I think he's probably recharged that battery. I think he wants to do this again. But it's important to get to the bottom of that. You're not going to get over on Curtis Blades. You might get the jump on him in the first round. You might land more strikes on him. You might even take him down. You might elbow him a few times. But in the third round, when he doesn't go down quite as easy, in the third round where that big body of Curtis can take those big shots you've been landing, he's still standing. It just changes it. It's really important that you want to be there. That there wasn't a carrot. I'm not here because you talked me into it. I'm here because I want to be here. Very interesting side. Very interesting, this entire Jones journey. I didn't think it was going to lead us to Curtis Blades. I don't know that it will. I know that's today's news, and I know that we're getting used for conversation. We're getting used to take the temperature of the market. I understand that. But it's still interesting, and I like it. And I've taken my own temperature. How bad does Jon want to be in there? Has he gotten it back? Does he have that eye of the tiger? What do you think?